Hello, everybody, and today we are talking about the season finale of Ted. So, I don't know if we're getting a season 2, but we're going to finish this episode and we're going to give our overall thoughts on the Ted show. So, this episode's about John wanting to lose his virginity because everyone else is after witnessing a sexual education class. And his classmates are bragging about it, and Johnny's really wanting to lose it. But Ted decides to help, but Ted's not really the best help, as, I don't know, they're doing a lot of weird things that will, I don't know. For example, Ted puts on Belair's bra, and he starts, pretending to panic and having John practice taking off the bra. It was a funny scene. But as this is going on, Belair tries to talk to John's parents about it, but they're not really sure about it, but they talk about their stories when but they both try to while John's just hanging out, and Maddie doesn't really do anything, and Susan tries to, but she doesn't really get anywhere with the conversation. But as this is going on, the next day, Ted and John decide to go get a new weed from Sheila. But I think Ted pisses off Sheila for some reason. But John meets, I think her name's Bethany, who's Sheila's sister, and they're just talking or whatever about sexual education. But then, while Ted and John are about to leave, they move past a mugger who steals their weed. Then John manages to take him down, and I guess she likes what John did, and Bethany decides to ask John out on a date. So this could be a step up for John. And as this is going on, this is I know I kind of skipped a little bit. I jumped over to Ted in the weird scene where they're the bra scene I was basically talking about. I do where Belair's what are you doing? And then Belair basically gives advice to John to just be himself, and that's what he's going to do, or at least try to. That's where Ted decides to basically go on a journey to find some pills that will help them, not have diseases from having, But it turns out the pharmacy guy ends up being a pervert. But later that night, John is dressed up like Aladdin, and Ted is the driver, and he's dressed in a tuxedo, and then he gives Bethany a Jasmine costume, and they decide to drive on the roof of the car. Ted's driving, and they're on the roof, and they find out they have a lot in common. They like Flash Gordon, the cheesiest movie ever. And they end up getting into a car. They accidentally fall off the car when Ted accidentally sees a squirrel. And they end up going to the hospital, and they're really injured. But Ted's talk ain't really helping, as he's telling Bethany that he's made out with tons of girls and he's dated tons of people. But will be relevant later. But after the car crash, basically, they go to the hospital, and they meet with the doctor. He's played by Principal Franklin from iCarly. He's surprisingly in this show. And he tells them to not do it again. And basically, John and Bethany, they basically agree to go on a date to the prom. So John has a date to the prom. And Belair's proud for him, and Ted as well, and his family. But it all gets ruined when John gets a call from Bethany, and she says she blows off the date. She doesn't want to date him because she wasn't exactly expecting him. I don't know. She didn't like how she thinks he wants to always just want to date girls just to have you make out. But Johnny's very disappointed by this, and this is kind of Ted's fault since he's the one that's been saying it to Bethany and having her think that, even though he should have just let John be himself. But they decide to go to the prom. Johnny doesn't want to go, but his dad gives him the lecture after Belair convinces him to just be hey, this is a once in a lifetime. You have highs and lows, and then Then Johnny decides to go to the prom, and Ted takes Blair as a date, and I do like their prom tux and dress, like they look cute. And they go to the prom, and they're hanging out, but John decides he wants to make things right with Bethany. And so he walks up to her and is like, the reason why was because I lied. And then Bethany's like, you lied to me? He says, to prove I ain't lying now, John decides to announce that he's a virgin. And everyone just laughs at him, including Ted. So yeah, Ted wasn't really a good friend in this episode, not gonna lie. And Blair even signals him out. But the two end up working out their differences, and Blair and Ted end up watching them walk away, and the two end up going to their house, and they end up making out, but they're about to, but they end up seeing a news report of O.J. Simpson, and there was this reference earlier where Maddie, his first time making out, got interrupted by a newscasting, and that's basically what happened to Johnny. And the episode ends with Johnny and Ted just kind of reflecting, and apparently Bethany's going to Italy. And the show ends with the Thunder. And we finally get a reference to Thunder Buddies. And the two end up going into the house, and that's the episode, and we get references to O.J. Simpson for some reason, and that's basically this episode. So this is a very interesting episode. It explores, like, Johnny trying to explore his relationships. I was wondering if, like, the girl would be Lori, because, like, I was wondering if this would contradict him meeting Lori, but, like, then again, he probably couldn't really date Bethany anymore. I wish they explained that more, but eventually I think John does meet Lori, and that leads to the events of the Ted movie, and so that's Ted the series. So this was a really good show. It was funny. It reminded me, I felt it was a tad bit better than the Ted movies, if I gotta be honest. Like, they explored the characters a lot more in these episodes. Yeah, there was some nitpicks I had overall, but this was a very fun series. I wish they'd do a season 2, since they said this was just a mini-series. But I had a good time with Ted. I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. And maybe I'd like to rank the episodes, maybe. But what do you think of Ted the series? So that'd be it. But I completed the entire Ted saga at least. But maybe they'll do a Ted free. Probably not. But anyway, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.